Hey, we're back with the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Tell us about the collective health policy you're putting together with the West Coast states. So over here, you guys, what do you call this? You call
the
this
West Coast offense. It's a Western Alliance.
The Western Alliance.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you guys doing? What's the agreement between these states?
We believe. Look, I run the largest public health system in the United States of America, California. It's the size of 21 state populations combined. We have some of the best and the brightest scientists, researchers, Nobel laureates in our state. And as a consequence, we are advancing an independent scientific review panel with other states to counter the mis and disinformation coming from the CDC. They simply are not trustworthy.
Yeah.
And so putting that out. Public health, not complicated.
What's happening at the NIH and the CDC is heartbreaking to me. My dad was an immunologist who was at NIH under Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I love seeing this, personally, but tell the people why it's important that there are governmental institutions that actually are going to certify and say these are the proper treatments of these drugs. What does that mean in terms of people's insurance?
Well, and we just required that insurers provide insurance and cover the cost of all of these vaccines as well. And so we're not, again,
because normally they would use the CDC.
Yeah, they're going to use the CDC guidelines that are automatically default, and as a consequence, if they're not making those recommendations, they're not going to cover the costs of those treatments or those vaccines. And as a consequence of that, millions and millions of people potentially can lose that coverage. So in California, we're requiring our health plans, we're requiring those insurance companies to provide access, and we're making sure that our own independent analysis provides a list of recommendations based on facts, based on science, not based on bull and fear.
So, when you say, when you're talking about we've got to push back, and I know in this case you're specifically referring to Democrats, but you've made an outreach to move beyond Democrats. That it's not like Democrat versus Republican is what I hear from you sometimes. It's that sanity versus insanity, or reason versus fear, and you've gone to some lengths to do that. You've got your own podcast. You've talked to Steve Bannon. You spoke to the late Charlie Kirk.
He was my first guest on the podcast.
And I'm just curious, what did you get from those conversations? Because sometimes some people come on podcasts or even television shows and aren't honest representatives of their ideas. Well, I'm curious what you got from those conversations.
I got a lot of grief. I got a lot of criticism for quote-unquote platforming people we disagree with. But look, it's not complicated. Divorce is not an option. I mean, at the end of the day, we got to figure out a way to live together and advance together across our differences. And there is something, look, success leaves clues. They were successful in the last election. People need to understand what motivates them, how they keep winning in the context of how they keep organizing and building a coalition, particularly young men, Charlie Kirk, and what he was able to do. So he was kind enough to fly out. We spent an hour and a half together. Interestingly, we were staying connected up until just a few weeks ago, until this tragic assassination. We had Steve Bannon on for the same reason. And no exaggeration, about 40 minutes into the Bannon conversation, I thought I was talking to, and this is not an indictment of Bernie Sanders, but it sounded more like Bernie Sanders in terms of the populist messaging. Mm-hmm. And I never expected that. We didn't get into January 6th, all the things we disagree on. So look, I think it's important to have those civil engagements. I think it's important to dialogue. It's important to learn from your opponents. And it's important to reconcile your weaknesses. As a Democratic Party, we have a lot of work to do to make up for our failures in the past. We got crushed in this last election. And now we're in a position where we are struggling to communicate. We're struggling to win back now the majority in the House of Representatives. And that's a big part of what I'm doing, not just today in terms of the work out here, raising money, but also raising awareness around how Donald Trump is trying to rig the midterm elections and how I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that. In the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
We're going to take another quick break here. We'll be right back with more Gavin Newsom, everybody.